This year's Heli Expo is coming to a close. I'm Amy Osher for AIN TV. For some in-depth analysis of this year's show, I'm joined by Randy Padfield, Editor-in-Chief of Aviation International News. Steve Pope, Editor of HAI Convention News, is also here. Now, Steve, what do you consider the most newsworthy announcement at the show?
The biggest news I think you'd have to say is Sikorsky's X2 technology demonstrator, which they unveiled here on the show floor. I think when people think back to Heli Expo 2008 and 8, really the X2 will be what they'll remember. The EC-175, obviously, from Eurocopter is a big announcement, but I think historically people will really remember the X2 being shown for the first time.
It was exciting. Randy, what do you think?
Well, I can't argue with Steve on that. The EC-175 is a big one, and the EC-225, the Schweizer 434, and the Robinson R66. We all saw, of course, the mock-up, a model of the EC-175, which is being built by Eurocopter and Harbin of China. The EC-225 is the first time we've seen it in the United States. The 434, Schweizer 434, is the body of a 333 with the rotor head of a fire scout, I guess, right. And then the last one was the Robinson R66, its first turbine helicopter.
We'll have more after this break. And Steve, what's the prognosis for the industry?
The prognosis for the industry is great. There are about 25,000 helicopters that are going to have to be replaced in the next 10 years. There's going to be opportunities for refurbishment of older helicopters. So really, the industry is doing wonderful. The problem that they're facing is that they've been caught somewhat behind in ramping up for all of this growth. The engine makers have done a very good job of getting ready, but everyone else is caught behind, even the major OEMs, the manufacturers of the helicopters. But the prognosis is looking really good. Civil helicopter sales are very strong. Military sales are very strong. I don't think that's ever happened before, that the two of those sectors together have been going through the roof at the same time. So things are great. And
Randy, what do you think about the outlook?
Well, Amy, I asked Matt Zuccaro, who's the president of the Helicopter Association International, about that. HAI is an association of operators. And of course, we hear a lot about the manufacturers. The operators, for them, it's boom times. They have lots and lots of business. And again, reflecting what Steve had to say, the backlogs that the OEMs have is making a problem for the operators because they can't get the equipment they need. And that's also filtering down into product support and trying to get all the parts they need to keep things going. But the credit crunch, as Matt said, doesn't seem to be affecting the overall helicopter industry. So, fair skies sailing ahead.
Well, we were all waiting to hear about that. Now, Steve, how was the show for HAI?
This has probably been the best show they've ever had. We don't have the final attendance numbers. I know through the first day, their numbers were above 15,500 visitors. That's a record for a day one. We'll get the final figures later today. The all-time record for the show is 16,500. It looks like they'll be on their way to breaking that record. So, first time in Houston and best show ever. Pretty good.
Now, Randy, you said you were at the ribbon-cutting ceremony. What did they have to say?
Well, Matt Zuccaro again said this was a rousing success before we've even opened the doors. And if you were anywhere near the registration area, there were long lines to get registered. There's long lines at the lunch or the snack bars. There's people all over the exhibit hall. People are attending educational sessions. It's really been an exciting Heli Expo this year.
Now, Steve, was there anything else of note at the show that you wanted to mention?
Business jet maker Embraer has a Phenom 300 mock-up here on the show floor, so I guess things are so good that the business jet makers want to get in on the action. I don't think that a business jet has ever been shown at a Heli Expo before, so that's kind of noteworthy.
We noticed it too, and we noticed a lot of people kind of checking out the fuselage as well.
Sure.
Now, Randy?
Yeah, well, it's interesting you mentioned that, Steve, because Lynn Tilton at a press conference, Lynn Tilton's the CEO of MD Helicopters, happened to say that she's really interested in buying one of the struggling very light jet manufacturers. So perhaps we're seeing a coming together, a crossover between helicopters and small jets anyway. It's quite interesting to see that at Heli Expo.
Interesting to see. Well, you can count on AINTV.com for online video coverage of upcoming conventions, including eBase in Geneva and the Farnborough Air Show in England. I'm Amy Osher. Thanks for logging on.